Your person draws us closer, and from our love and esteem for you, we say, hallowed be thy name. Lord, may your name be always blessed and honored till the end of time. Amen.
We ask our guests and visitors to continue to stand and join us in the flag salute. Please join Assemblymember Berryhill as he leads us, Bill Berryhill, as he leads us in the pledge. Mr. Berryhill. You may be seated. Reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber, Sacramento, Monday, June 7, 2010. Assembly met at 7 a.m. Honorable Mike King, Assembly District 49th District Presiding. Chief Clerk E.
Mr.
Dawson.
Calderon moves and Mr. Garrick seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentations of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the governor, there are none. Messages from the Senate, there are none. Motions and resolutions. The absences for the day will be deemed read and printed in the journal. Mr. Calderon, you are recognized.
Yes, Madam Speaker, members, I request unanimous consent for Speaker John Perez to have guests and photographers on the floor today for the administration of the oath of office to Assembly Member-elect Mike Gatto.
Without objection.
Also, I request unanimous consent to allow Assembly Member Bill Berryhill to have his son, if he so chooses, to join him on the floor at his desk.
Without objection.
Also, the following members have requested to speak in adjourn of memory. I request unanimous consent to that effect. Members are Davis, Fong, Logue, Bell, and Cook.
Without objection.
Pursuant to Assembly Rule 96, I move to refer SB 22-7 by Ms. Alquist from the Appropriations Committee to the Health Committee.
Without objection.
Also, I move to rescind the floor at the request of the author, I move to rescind the September 11, 09 floor vote on SB 769 by Ms. Alquist and to return that bill to the third reading file.
Without objection.
Finally, I move that Senate Bills 846 through 873, which are at the Assembly desk, request unanimous consent to take these bills up without reference to file for the purpose of second reading today.
Without objection. Members, we are waiting to swear in our newest member-elect. In the meantime, we would like to go to adjourn in memories. If those members are ready to take up their adjourn in memories, we would like to start with those first. Assembly members Bell, Logue, Davis, Fong, and Cook. Colonel Cook, are you ready? Members, can we have a little attention and quiet in the chambers for our adjourn in memories? Colonel Cook.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I don't rise to adjourn in memory very often. In fact, this is the first time I've done it in 4 years. This individual that I'm going to speak about very quickly is an individual that is actually a relative of some people that you might be familiar with. He's actually the nephew of the individual I'm going to talk about. His name is Bruce McRae. And the individual that I ask you to adjourn in memory is George McRae. George McRae died June 7th. Ironically enough, one day after the D-Day invasion, 1944, at the age of 92. A long, long life, and one which was filled with history. This was an individual who was a survivor of the great Halifax explosion. You know, when the munitions ship blew up, thousands were killed. He was an individual that was kind of a member of what was called the Greatest Generation. His father was in World War I. He enlisted in World War II and became a Marine Raider. Marine Raiders were very, very special, very, very controversial, as a matter of fact. Normally, they were the first ones in there. They had an extremely high attrition rate. And George McRae also was wounded quite seriously on the island of Guam, where he lost the use of his arm. But George McRae did not stop there. Continued after the war, was in California. Even though he had the use of just one arm, was actively employed for years, was actively engaged with veterans organizations, somebody that continued to be of service to his community, his state, and his country. And I ask you again to adjourn in memory of an individual that I consider the personification of the Greatest Generation and the Marine Raiders. Thank you very much.
Mr. Fong.
Madam Chair, members of the Assembly, I'd like to adjourn in the memory of John DeLauro, an extraordinary labor and community leader, teacher, and activist. I would like to extend my condolences to his wife, a community activist, Susan, and to their 2 young children. To his numerous friends, I wish all of you peace at this difficult time. John had the heart of a champion with a dedication to social justice, respect, and equality for workers, immigrants, and people of color. His commitment to positive social change was contagious, inspirational, and he had an indelible impact on a generation of students and activists across the nation. A Filipino American, his activism within and commitment to Asian, Latino, and African American communities was unparalleled, both in the classroom and in the workplace. John DeLauro served as the national president of the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, AFL-CIO, which is the largest and only national organization of Asian Pacific American working families and union members. He was also the executive director of the Dolores Huerta Labor Institute and co-founder of the Filipino Workers Center of Southern California. John worked as a lecturer with the UCLA Asian American Studies Department for nearly 3 years, where he taught numerous courses focusing on Asian American and Pacific Islander leadership development. As a nationally recognized union leader, labor educator, organizer, teacher, and mentor, John DeLauro touched the lives of many and will be remembered for his compassion, his generosity of spirit, and his visionary leadership. It is with a heavy heart that I say, thank you, John, for the gifts that you have brought into this world. You will never forget your enormous contributions.
Mr. Davis.
Madam Speaker and members, it is my honor to call attention to the life and to celebrate the life of the famous John Wooten, referred to as the Wizard of Westwood. He's best known for his insanely successful run as head coach at UCLA. Wooten's teams, featuring all-time greats like Lou Alcindor, better known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Bill Walton, won 10 NCAA titles in 12 seasons, including a stretch when the Bruins won 88 straight games. Wooten was born in October 14, 1910, in the rural town of Indiana. As a boy, Wooten led Martinsville High School to 3 straight Indiana state championships, and that was in 1927. He went on to star at Purdue University, where he was a 3-time All-American and led the Boilers to a Helms Foundation National Championship in 1932, and also was named Basketball Player of the Year. After college, he played for a number of professional teams and had different pre-NBA league in different NBA leagues while teaching and coaching at the high school level. His playing career ended in '42 when he enlisted in the Navy. After World War II, Wooten returned to Indiana and became athletic director for Indiana State University, also coaching the basketball and baseball teams. His Sycamores earned an invitation to the National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics postseason tournament in 1947, but Wooten passed, citing that the NAIA ban on African American players, one of Indiana State players, Clarence Walker, was black. So his early work in terms of diversity is really the hallmark of his career. After that season, Wooten moved on to a job that would make him legend, and that is basketball coach at University of California at Los Angeles. Wooten had immediate success with the Bruins, leading them to the top of the South Division of the old Pacific Coast Conference in 6 of his 8 seasons. But that was nothing compared to what he'd accomplished between 1963 and 1975. In that 12 stretch, UCLA had an unprecedented run of success, matches or exceeds anything we've seen in sports before and since. In that period, the Bruins racked up 10 NCAA championships, including 7 straight from 1967 to 73, 4 perfect 30-0 seasons, 88 straight wins overall, and 98 straight wins at Pauley Pavilion. Wooten was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame as a player in '61, as a coach in 1973. He was the first to be so honored as both player and coach, and is only one of 3 enshrined in both categories. In 2009 of July, Wooten was honored as the greatest coach of all times by the Sporting News. Coach Wooten died of natural causes at UCLA Medical Center June 4th, and this was just months shy of his 100th birthday. And of course, as a Trojan, I will only conclude to say he only made one mistake, and that was to take that job as a coach at UCLA instead. But ladies and gentlemen, it is with the greatest of honor that I share with you the life of a true legend who served in our great state of California as the chair of the Entertainment and Sports Committee. I ask that we adjourn in his memory.
Thank you, members. If you could please bring the names to the desks so they may be recorded in the journal. Mr. Chesbrough?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise for purposes of introduction. I'd like to introduce 2 students, scholars, and athletes who are in the gallery today and are being recognized in Sacramento. Michelle Stone, who attends Ursuline High School in Santa Rosa, is being honored as the 2010 California Interscholastic Federation State Scholar Athlete of the Year. She has competed in track and field, pole vault specifically, and cross country, and has a 4.42 cumulative GPA. She hopes to continue competing in pole vault and focusing on biology or natural sciences with the goal of going into the medical field. We also have Bruce Taylor from Palma High School in Salinas, who's being honored also as a 2010 California Interscholastic Federation State Scholar Athlete of the Year. He has competed in football, golf, track and field, soccer and basketball, and has a 4.68 cumulative GPA. He hopes to continue competing in football and major in business administration or political science. Please join me in welcoming them to the chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chesbrough. Under motions and resolutions, Mr. Calderon.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Article 4, Section 5 of the State Constitution and the semi-official results as reported by the Secretary of State in the special election on June 8, 2010, I move that the Assembly seat Mike Gatto as a duly elected Assembly member representing the 43rd Assembly District.
The motion requires a second. Is there a second? Mr. Hall seconds. Is there any objection to granting unanimous consent to Mr. Calderon's motion? Seeing and hearing none, the request is granted. Members and guests, a special election was held in the 43rd Assembly District to fill the vacancy in this House. We will now move to the ceremony to swear in Assembly Member-elect for the 43rd District, Mike Gatto. I'm appointing a select committee on escort to escort Assemblymember-elect Gatto to the rostrum. If the select committee and Mr. Gatto will please retire to the rear of chambers as your names are called. Mr. Gatto, you may proceed now. Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. De Leon, Mr. Hall, Ms. Ma. Is Mr. Smythe with us? Mr. Smythe and Mr. Solorio. Given the absence of Mr. De Leon in the chambers, Mr. Perez, will you join us as a member of the Escort Committee? The Escort Committee should remain on the dais for further duties in the session after I bring the member-elect forward. The Escort Committee will now bring Assemblymember-elect Mike Gatto and his wife Danielle and their infant daughter Eliana to the rostrum. Assemblymember-elect Mike Gatto will now take the oath of office. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mike Gatto,
I, Mike Gatto,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend
the
Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now that our newest colleague, Mr. Gatto, has been sworn in and signed his oath, we'd like to afford him the opportunity to speak for just a minute.
Thank you, everyone. I will just take a minute just to recognize my friends and family who are here. My father, Joseph, who got me involved in politics when I was 13 years old, is back in the gallery. And I saw my mother, Isolda, around here somewhere. She's back there. Okay. And I have a good friend who is here to watch us swearing in, and that is Captain Russ Curry. Captain, please stand up and be recognized. We talk a lot about the greatest generation. Well, he is the greatest of our generation. I don't get to see him enough because he's been away at war twice now. And I'm very happy that he could be here today. I am very honored to be a part of this body, and I realize that I have a lot to learn, and so I will be turning to each and all of you to do a lot of learning in the days ahead. But I'm very, very honored to be here, and thank you very much for everything you've done so far. Thank you.
Members, we've got some budget bills without reference to file that needs to be read for the second time. SB 846 through SB 873. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 846, 847, 848, 849, 850, 851, 852, 853, 854, 855, 856, 857, 858, 859, 860, 861, 862, 863, 864, 865, 866, 867, 868, 869, 870, 871, 872, and Senate Bill 873.
All bills deemed read. Members, we've got one order of business on our daily file, third reading. File item 14, AB 1887, with amendments. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1887 with amendments by Assembly Member Valines.
Mr. Valines.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We take this up for purposes of amendment, out to print and back on file. The amendments are technical in nature.
Seeing no further questions or debate, and without objection, we will take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted, out to print and back on file. Members, this concludes the business on the daily file in the regular session. All other items will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. The session schedule is as follows. Friday, no check-in, no session. Monday, June 14th, session at 12 noon. I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Calderon moves. Mr. Gaines seconds. That this House stands adjourned until Monday, June 14th at noon. Quorum call is lifted.